But now let's go ahead and get to a look back at my last year's WrestleMania match card picks. I can't believe I almost forgot my dang hat. It's my lucky hat right here. But going into these WrestleMania 41 predictions, I had made this around October 7th, and I did not change any of the champions. I also used the past WrestleMania's format and said, okay, we're going to be having 14 matches, 7 night 1, 7 night 2. And my first match was going to be Liv versus Lyra Valkyria. I actually picked her as the Royal Rumble winner for this year. I thought they were going to be pushing new talent with the Royal Rumble. Sadly, they ended up using Charlotte Flair. I'm not too mad at it in the slightest, but I would have loved to see Lyra potentially get that win if they didn't have like the mid-card belt. So she did get to be the mid-card champion, so that was pretty cool. But I probably would have picked her to win the Rumble just because I think she has a lot of talent, and I honestly would have loved to have seen a match between both Lyra and Liv. I feel like Liv is such an amazing seller that she would have worked wonders with Lyra Valkyria. I don't really know how the feud would have looked going into WrestleMania. Maybe it isn't like the biggest feud in the world, but I think it would have been a pretty dang good match nonetheless. Maybe you could have had her win the Chamber though, so it's not that long of a feud. Next match I had happening was Jey Uso, IC champion, versus Dominic Mysterio. Yes, this is how long ago this was. Jey Uso was still your IC champion, and I actually had Dominic Mysterio winning this match. I would have loved to have seen like a big WrestleMania moment for Dominic Mysterio. I hope that he still does have one this year, although there's very real possibility that he might get left off the card, unless what I think is going to happen happens, and we will get into that in a little bit when we do like our Hold the Throne every champion. But I would have loved to have seen this match because I feel like this match would have been like just the most hated versus the most loved, and it would have just been a really, really good, possible even storyline going into WrestleMania. Obviously, Dominic Mysterio wouldn't be able to talk so much because the crowd wouldn't let him talk, but Jey Uso definitely would have been playing into that. You could have even had Rhea Ripley get involved in this whole kind of thing because Rhea's would have been rocking with Jey. Maybe you have Lyra get involved because of this. Maybe you even have Rhea and Liv run it back. I didn't want that, that's why I didn't pick that. But I think Dom and Jey Uso would have honestly tore the house down, in my opinion. Next match I had happening was Xavier Woods turning heel on Kofi Kingston. So I was kind of right. I was about 50% right in that the New Day were going to turn heel. I just only picked 50% of them. I didn't pick both of them. But my thought process going in was that Xavier Woods was showing signs of turning heel, and Kofi Kingston wasn't around this time. He was trying to influence Kofi to do a lot of heel-esque things to win. So I thought what would have happened during the match during the Royal Rumble is that Kofi Kingston would have accidentally eliminated Xavier Woods. Xavier would have blamed this on him, and this would have turned into a big old feud between the two. Next up, we would have had the tag team champions of... Oh, I had Kofi Kingston winning that match, by the way. But next up, we would have had the tag team champions of Judgment Day's Finn and JD versus the Creed brothers versus two members of the Wyatt Six. I was hoping we would be doing more with the Wyatt Six around this time. We still haven't really done much with them, but I do still think there's a big storyline that's going to be happening very, very soon. But this match to me would have just been an absolutely phenomenal match, especially if it was like a tornado tag match, like a ladder match, something like that. I think these guys would have just put on an absolute show, especially from what I've seen from the Creed brothers against the War Raiders. Oh my gosh, that was a freaking 5-star match of the year. Well, it was close enough to a 5-star match. I think this match would have tore the house down, in my opinion, as well. So many houses getting torn down for me. Why do bro, I am not Steph Curry, my goodness. If you know, you know. But yeah, I think it would have been a great match though. Honestly, I would still love to see this match. Obviously, JD McDonough's probably not gonna be there because of his injury, but man, this match would have been so good. The next match was gonna be the inaugural United States or Intercontinental match. I didn't think they were going to add both the titles because it didn't really look like they were going to add both the titles. It kind of was like, maybe they won't add them. So the ones I had in this match were Chelsea Green and Michin, who I actually said were going to be my closest two to winning the belt, which is funny because they were the closest two to winning the very first United States Championship belt. And then I had Bayley and Naomi in this. Obviously, Naomi's not going to be in it now because she's getting chased around by Jade Cargill. And then I had Sonya and Zelina in this. Obviously, Sonya's not going to be in this because she's not even in WWE anymore, so it wouldn't have worked at all. But Zelina could have still been in it, and I think Zelina will be doing something with the United States Championship this WrestleMania. Hopefully, she's in some ladder match of sorts. Hopefully, there is a ladder match for that belt, and we can potentially see Zelina win it, although with Chelsea Green's new squad of her, Alba Fire, and Piper Nivens, it looks like she's probably going to hold that belt a little bit longer. I don't think she's losing the the United States Championship anytime soon. Probably post WrestleMania, if that. The next match I had happening was Uncle Howdy was going to be taking down one of Bray Wyatt's oldest rivals, that being one Bryan Danielson. Yes, I thought he was going to get bought out by AEW or potentially even be leaving AEW. That's why he had like this whole career versus championship match against Swerve, and he put his career on the line against anybody who would defeat him by saying that whenever he loses, that'll be his last match. I thought that's what he was kind of alluding to, was that he was going to be going back to WWE to have one final match, potentially with an Uncle Howdy, and it would have been a really good just match in my opinion. I think it would have been the storyline would have been absolutely amazing with Uncle Howdy and a lot of with Uncle Howdy and Bryan Danielson, and a lot of callbacks to Bryan Danielson turning on Bray Wyatt when they were locked inside of that steel cage. And yeah, I would have loved the storyline. I really would have loved it, but probably not going to do it anytime soon. Maybe there's always next year we could do it. Maybe there's sometime later on this year that we could do it. Maybe it won't happen at WrestleMania. I honestly just would love to see the storyline play out. And this is why I also still would love to see a wrestling league incorporated into all of wrestling. I was gonna be like WBA, but that doesn't make any sense. It's National Basketball Association, not Wrestling Basketball Association. National Wrestling Association. There we go. NWA is already literally a thing. I dropped my hat. Oh no, my lucky hat. Which way does it go? There we go. And then my main event of night one was going to be Gunther versus the Elimination Chamber winner of John Cena. Now, it's crazy how I predicted John Cena to turn heel, but I predicted John Cena to win the Elimination Chamber months before this whole John Cena heel turn that I predicted. What the heck? I was this close. I was this close. And now, mind you, I don't even know why he still turned heel. You won the dang chamber, but whatever, man. John Cena, though, I had him winning the Elimination Chamber and going on to face Gunther. I thought he was going to have like a really big match with him, because Gunther wants the match with John Cena. I feel like John Cena also has said that he wants the match with Gunther. I think it'd be just an absolutely amazing match. We've seen that, like, you know, with AJ Styles, we thought it wouldn't be a good match, and it turned out to be arguably John Cena's best match of his career, and arguably AJ Styles' best match, at least of his WWE career. I think this would have been just as good. I think the feud would have been way better going into WrestleMania than this current Jay Gunther feud. Honestly, I think it would have been the best feud going into WrestleMania, in my opinion. And there could have even been a really good argument for it main eventing night 2 instead of main eventing night 1. If that would have been the case, I would have really loved that, because I've said for a while now, the World Heavyweight Championship is just so slapped in the face that I feel like it needs either bigger stars, or I don't know, man. It feels wrong what we're doing with the World Heavyweight title. We literally had Gunther out there begging for matches at one point in time. I would have loved to see John Cena win the Elimination Chamber and go right after Gunther and say, I'm taking that belt off you, because while you claim all these things about how, you know, you care for the ring and all that, you really don't care for you really don't care for the sport, because you disrespect every single person that ever goes against you. So I would have loved it. And then for night 2, I had kicking off the night would have been Nia Jax versus Charlotte. I thought Charlotte was going to be the Women's Elimination Chamber winner, and I thought Nia Jax was going to have like this big old faction around her of Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, Tiffany Stratton. I thought Tiffany Stratton would either A, fail her cash in, or B, cash in at WrestleMania against or during the Nia Charlotte match and go on to kind of steal the win, similar to how Seth Rollins stole the win when it was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and that was going to lead to a Tiffany Stratton Charlotte feud instead of Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte this year at WrestleMania. I would have preferred that a lot more, especially because you give Nia like a really dominant reign. You allow her to go into WrestleMania with the belt. Now Nia's probably not even going to be on the WrestleMania card, which really sucks, because I do think she's one of, if not the best woman in wrestling in WWE right now. I thought she was the best champion of 2024, and I would have loved to have seen her get her respect, because of the fact that, you know, she's come a long way from what people have said is the quote-unquote most dangerous wrestler to now being one of the best wrestlers in the company. So I would have loved to have seen it. Sadly, we didn't get that, though. Next up, it would have been Bianca versus Jade. This is when I was still believing that Bianca was the one that attacked Jade. Now, obviously, it looked like it's a whole different story, although, like I said, Bianca might still be involved. I had Bianca versus Jade happening at WrestleMania, though, but it looks like that one also may happen sometime down the line. I'm assuming maybe at Crown Jewel, maybe we get Bianca versus Jade, but I wouldn't want to see it there. I'd rather see it like SummerSlam or something like that. Next match we had was the Tongan Twins versus the Usos. I would have loved to have seen twin versus twin, and I obviously the Tongan Twins were the SmackDown Tag Team Champions around this time. Would have been just an absolutely amazing story to bring full circle of the Usos at 40. They were wrestling against each other, and then at 41, they were brought together. Funny enough, once again, this was before the whole bringing together of the Usos and Bloodline and all this stuff. I didn't even think they were going to come together. I mean, like, many people didn't think they were. Well, I think we kind of all assumed that at some point in time they might eventually get back together. This was like around the time that I thought it was going to be like more of a slow burn and not such a quick burn, but it was a very, very quick fire. Next up, we had Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. This could have happened. Like, could have been 1 for 1 at least, or I guess 1 for 14 at least. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, all these other predictions, I got them basically wrong, except maybe the next match wouldn't have been so wrong. But this probably would have been like before the main event. But Seth Rollins, CM Punk steel cage match, it did technically happen on Monday Night Raw, it just didn't happen at WrestleMania. I was hoping that we'd get this match. I still kind of would love to see this match over the triple threat. I just feel like the triple threat's kind of whatever, but I'm gonna get into that in a little bit again too. I don't know if we're ever going to get this one-on-one ever again. I think this might be the ending of this feud to happen at WrestleMania, just because, like, last year was probably the better opportunity, but obviously CM Punk was hurt, Seth Rollins was hurt, so he really couldn't do it. It sucks that we couldn't do it. I really wish we could have. It's going to be one of those, like, dang, we're just never going to get that moment ever again kind of things, and it does suck, but next up, we had LA Knight as the current United States champion, which, funny enough, he is once again the current United States champion, versus Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, and AJ Styles in a fatal 4-way. I think we can still get this match, just not with AJ Styles. There might be somebody else, like a Jimmy Uso, involved in this match. And I had Carmelo Hayes dethroning LA Knight at WrestleMania. I thought he was going to be booked a lot better around this time as well. Sadly, he isn't. But I did think that we were potentially going to be going towards a Carmelo Hayes WrestleMania win. I would have been so ecstatic for, because I think Carmelo Hayes has everything to be a superstar in WWE. I hope that WWE uses him right. But it's looking very iffy going forward. And it looks like he might have to leave the company, rebrand himself, and then come back. And hopefully, when he does come back, they stop really doing the whole, we don't want to push you if you're under 5'10". If you're one of those shorter guys, you're not really going to get the biggest chances. You're not really going to get the biggest feuds. You're not really going to get the XYZs unless you're just like a super duper mega star that we just have to do it because we can't like not do it. It just wouldn't make sense. And then, whoops, I done clicked out. The next match we have 2 more matches. Next match would have been Solo versus Jacob. I think I'm going to be 1 for 1. I think this is going to be happening at WrestleMania. The writing is on the wall for Solo and Jacob. It looks like something's going to be happening between these two. Although I did love that whole moment where Jacob was cutting the promo and then Solo just goes, 5-2. That was so cool. I love how it's him, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu. But to get back to this WrestleMania predictions, my last one, main event, was part 3 of Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. I know it's going to be main eventing 3 years in a row. I just didn't see them doing anything else. This was before Bad Blood. This was before John Cena's announcement and all that stuff. So I didn't think John Cena was going to be facing Cody Rhodes, and I really didn't want to see face versus face. I did not see them doing anybody else. I was like, maybe CM Punk could, but I was like, it's probably going to be Roman. I think Triple H is going to want to do what Vince didn't do, which is John Cena versus Rock part 3, which is John Cena versus Randy at WrestleMania. I think he was going to want to get these part 3s out of the way while Cody and Roman are still here, while Cody and Roman are still at their peaks. And I thought it was going to be just 3 back-to-back. It would have been a clean match this time, unlike last time where it wasn't a clean match. And I would have been super excited for it, man. I would have been, because I think Roman Reigns' best match in WWE and Cody, one of Cody's top 5 matches, but I think Roman's best match of all time, Roman versus Cody, WrestleMania 39. I think this would have been just as good, if not even better, now that nobody's getting involved. I will say, I am 1 for 1 so far, because I think Solo versus Jacob does happen at WrestleMania. None of the other ones are obviously going to be happening. Maybe we still somehow get Seth versus Punk. And maybe Roman Reigns decides, you know what? I don't like Drew McIntyre, man. I don't like your face. I'm going to punch you right in the face. And then Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre does happen, which you probably should punch him first and not CM Punk. But what are you going to do, man? Apparently Roman Reigns says, hey, hold on. You can talk about me. But once you start getting near my wise man, you start touching him the way I touch him. No. And if you think that's crazy, just go look at that video where Roman Reigns picked up Paul Heyman's chin and looked him in the eyes. Oh, man, you got to get someone that looks at you the way Roman looks at Paul Heyman.